When the storm is raging and the winds of life are howling against your soul, when everything you've tried has crumbled beneath your feet, and you feel like your prayers are hitting the ceiling and falling back into your lap like shattered dreams, hold on. Don't let go. Don't walk away. Don't throw in the towel. Because in that very moment, when the world says it's over, God is only getting started. What man calls impossible, God calls an opportunity. What the world labels hopeless, God declares a platform for His power. You may not see it right now, but God will do the impossible for you. Just hold on. There is a power beyond comprehension, a force that can shift the unmovable, break the unbreakable, and open doors that no human hand can open. And that power belongs to God. When the weight of life presses down upon your shoulders, when the tears fall quietly on your pillow at night and no one sees your pain, God sees. God hears. God knows. And God acts in His time, not yours. He is not limited by logic, science, or statistics. He doesn't bow to human reasoning. He doesn't ask permission from the laws of nature. When God moves, everything else must bow. Some of you have been waiting a long time. You've been praying, fasting, crying out, and wondering if God has forgotten you. Let me tell you today, with fire in my bones, God has not forgotten you. You are not abandoned. You are not overlooked. The silence of God does not mean the absence of God. Sometimes He is working in the background, rearranging things you don't see, removing people who were pretending to be for you, and preparing the very blessing that will leave you breathless. Hold on. Hold on when you don't feel it. Hold on when the walls close in. Hold on when people walk away. Because just beyond that breaking point is the breakthrough. Just beyond the darkest night is the sunrise. God will do the impossible, but He needs you to endure just a little longer. The reason the pressure has been intense is because the promise is massive. The reason the attacks have been relentless is because the blessing is historic. God is not playing games with your destiny. Every delay has been divine. Every rejection has been protection. Every heartbreak was part of the holy setup. God is weaving every disappointment into a design you cannot yet comprehend. If He showed you everything all at once, it would overwhelm you. So He leads you step by step, pain by pain, prayer by prayer. What you think is a breakdown is really a build-up. God is about to do the impossible, but He's shaping you first to be able to handle it. You've cried long enough. You've struggled in silence while others have flourished in the spotlight. But don't envy what others have. You don't know the cost of their applause. You don't know the emptiness behind their smiles. God is doing something deeper with you. He is digging a well in you that won't dry up. The fire you've been walking through is refining you, not destroying you. It's burning off the fear, the doubt, the insecurity. And when the fire lifts, you'll come out not bitter but better. You'll rise not weak but wise. You'll stand not broken but blessed. God doesn't need a majority vote to bless you. He doesn't need a committee to agree. He doesn't need the economy to shift or the people around you to change. He is God all by Himself. And when He says it's time, nothing can stand in the way. The very thing they said would never happen, the very miracle they mocked you for believing in, that's the thing God is going to bring to pass, not to prove them wrong, but to prove that He is still the God of wonders. He is still the God who parts seas, shuts lions' mouths, rains manna from heaven, and speaks to dry bones until they live again. You may say, but I'm too old, or I've missed my chance, or I'm too broken. Nonsense. Age means nothing to God. Regret is no match for His redemption. Scars don't disqualify you, they prepare you. God can take your worst mistake and use it as the foundation for your greatest miracle. Stop disqualifying yourself from what God has already qualified you for. He knew your flaws when He formed you. He knew your failures before you made them. And yet He still placed greatness inside you. That dream, that desire, that whisper in the depths of your soul, it wasn't random. God put it there. And if He put it there, He will bring it to pass. You're not too late. You're right on time for a God-sized turnaround. It's not over just because it looks over. God doesn't need perfect circumstances. He creates them. He speaks into nothing and produces everything. He breathes into dust and brings forth life. And if He did it before, He can do it again for you. Not just for the stories in ancient books, but for your life, your home, your future. But you must hold on. When your mind tells you to give up, talk back with faith. When fear whispers that it's useless, respond with courage. When doubt tells you to stop believing, fight back with fire. God responds to faith, not fear. He honors persistence, not passivity. He rewards those who seek Him, even in the dark, even when it hurts, even when there are no answers. Hold on, because your persistence is birthing power. Some of the greatest breakthroughs happen just after the point of exhaustion. When you feel like you have nothing left to give, that's often the moment when God steps in, because it's not about your strength, it's about His. It's not your ability that brings the miracle. It's your willingness to believe when everything says you shouldn't. That kind of faith moves the heart of God. That kind of faith opens floodgates. That kind of faith brings water from a rock and bread from the sky. You were never meant to live a mediocre, barely getting by life. You were born with purpose. You were designed for something eternal, and the obstacles you face are not random. They are strategic. The enemy doesn't attack empty vessels. He attacks those who carry something valuable. You've been under pressure because you carry power. You've been tested because you carry truth. But tests precede triumph. Pain precedes purpose. Night precedes dawn. And if you'll hold on just a little longer, God will reveal why the battle had to be so fierce. There is a timing to everything, and just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. God is never late. He is never early. He is always exact. Like a master conductor, He orchestrates every note, every pause, every crescendo. Your delay is not denial. It is preparation. If God gave it to you too soon, it would crush you. But when the timing is right, what once looked like impossibility will suddenly feel inevitable, not because of you, but because of Him. Lift your head, wipe your tears, straighten your back. This is not the end of your story. This is not the chapter you die in. This is the moment you rise. This is the moment you trust not in what you see, but in who you believe. God is not finished. He is just getting started. And if you can hold on, just hold on. He will blow your mind with what He is about to do. The people who walked away, necessary. The doors that closed, protection. The setbacks that nearly broke you, preparation. Everything the enemy used to try and break you, God will use to bless you. What was meant to harm you, God will use to lift you. What was meant to destroy you, God will use to define you. This is not a motivational cliché. This is divine truth. Hold on. When the silence stretches longer than expected, trust that God is still speaking, just in a different language. Sometimes He speaks through the ache. Sometimes He speaks through the delay. But He always speaks with purpose. He is not punishing you. He is preparing you. He is not absent. He is arranging something greater than you imagined. You prayed for deliverance, but God is giving you dominion. You asked for relief, but God is building resilience. You want it out, but God wants you to overcome. And when it happens, and it will, you won't even be able to explain how it came together. Doors will open you didn't knock on. Resources will show up you didn't ask for. People will come into your life with exactly what you needed. Not because of luck, not because of chance, because of God. Because you dared to hold on. Because you refused to quit when quitting seemed easier. Because you trusted when everything said not to. You were not created to live in fear. You were not formed to dwell in defeat. You were not crafted by the Creator to bow to circumstances. You were born to overcome, born to rise, born to walk through fire and come out unburned, not by your strength, but by God's. The impossible is where God does His best work. He waits until the odds are so stacked against you that no one can get the glory but Him. So don't despise your impossibility. Celebrate it. It is the stage for your greatest miracle. It is the soil for your greatest growth. It is the moment when God steps in and shows the world that He is still in control. You may feel like you've been buried, but you haven't been buried, you've been planted. And in the right season, you will break through the soil and grow into something unimaginable. The tears you've cried have watered the soil. The pain you've endured has fertilized it. And now, all that remains is the timing of God. Hold on, not because everything makes sense, but because God is trustworthy. Hold on, not because you see the outcome, but because you know the one who holds the outcome. Hold on, because the same power that holds the stars in the sky is working behind the scenes of your life. You've come too far to give up now. You've prayed too long. You've fought too hard. You've believed too deeply. Don't abort the blessing because of temporary discomfort. Don't forfeit the future because of present pain. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. Your miracle is nearer than it feels. God has not brought you this far to leave you. He has not stirred your heart to abandon you. He will finish what He started. The impossible is not the end, it is the invitation. It's the place where logic fails, but faith rises. It's the moment when human strength collapses and divine strength begins. Hold on. Not passively, not quietly, but fiercely. With all the faith you have left, with all the strength you can muster, cling to the promise. Grab hold of your faith. Anchor yourself in the truth that God cannot lie. If He said it, it will come to pass. No force can stop it. No person can delay it. No demon can destroy it. There is something sacred about reaching the end of yourself, something holy about standing at the edge of the cliff, with no more strategies, no more strength, no more answers. Only God. That's where the divine takes over. That's where God shows you who He truly is, not in theory, not in ritual, but in reality. When your plans fail and your hands are empty, you are finally ready to receive what only God can give. And what He gives is not second-hand hope or temporary relief. What He gives is supernatural, unstoppable, undeniable intervention. You see, what you call impossible is only impossible to the human mind. God doesn't see barriers. He sees building blocks. He doesn't see chaos. He sees construction. Every closed door, every detour, every dead end is not a punishment. It is a redirection towards something better, something higher, something you couldn't even imagine when you were praying for less. You asked for a way out, but God is crafting a way through. You asked for a lighter load, but God is giving you stronger shoulders. You asked for peace, but God is shaping you into a person who carries peace no matter the storm. You are not being ignored, you are being fortified. God is not withholding, He is working. And His work is never rushed, never sloppy, never accidental. He knows the pressure required to purify gold. He knows the breaking point of your heart and the turning point of your situation. He sees the tears that no one else notices, the prayers that never made it past your lips, the weariness in your soul that you try to hide behind smiles. God sees all of it, and He is not silent in your suffering. He is present, He is active. He is preparing something no eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no mind has conceived. But you must not quit. You must not let weariness convince you that God has walked away. No, this is the time to dig your feet into the soil of belief and say, even if I don't see it yet, I trust what God is doing. Because real faith doesn't depend on visible evidence. It rests on invisible truth. Faith is not the absence of struggle. Faith is the ability to stand tall in the storm, knowing that the same God who calms the sea is walking beside you in the rain. Faith doesn't panic in the silence. It trusts that the composer is building toward the crescendo. You may feel small. You may feel outnumbered. But God doesn't work through majority rule. He works through surrendered hearts. He doesn't need the crowd to validate you. He needs your devotion. Because one person fully yielded to God can shift the atmosphere of an entire household. One soul anchored in faith can change the destiny of generations. You are not waiting in vain. You are being positioned. You are being aligned. Your future is not falling apart. It is falling into place by the hand of the one who never fails. Stop measuring your potential by your circumstances. Stop evaluating the power of God based on the size of your problem. God does not compete with impossibility. He conquers it. He does not look at your life and scratch his head. He doesn't consult with fear. He doesn't waver in uncertainty. He speaks and universes form. He commands and the mountains tremble. That same voice is speaking over your life even now, declaring, "Be still. I am working. I will make a way." Don't be deceived by the delay. Delay is not denial. Delay is often divine protection, keeping you from rushing into something that would have buried you. God delays not because he is indifferent, but because he is intentional. His ways are higher, his timing is perfect, and his promises are sealed. You might not understand it now, but one day you'll look back and thank him for not answering every prayer exactly how and when you ask. And when that moment comes, when the impossible bends to the will of God, when the thing you thought would never happen suddenly happens, you will not say, "Look what I've done." You will say, "Only God." You will weep not because you were forgotten, but because you were remembered in ways far greater than you imagine. You'll realize that the waiting was never wasted. It was in the waiting that you were transformed. It was in the silence that you developed sensitivity. It was in the wilderness that your faith grew roots. The valley you're in is not your final destination. It's the ground God is using to cultivate your next elevation. And elevation requires excavation. He digs deep before he builds high. He breaks the soil before he plants the seed. Don't resent the breaking. Don't run from the process. God is not harming you. He is shaping you. Every no, every pause, every lonely moment is part of a larger plan. Trust it. There's a fire in your spirit that hasn't died, and that's no accident. That's God preserving the spark for the day of ignition. He hasn't let it go out because there's still purpose in you. There's still impact waiting. There's still a calling on your life that cannot be erased by time, mistakes, or rejection. People may have walked away, but God never did. People may have doubted you, but God never did. Hold on to that. Stand on that. Let that be your anchor when everything else shakes. There is a reason the opposition intensified just when you decided to fully trust God. That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. When you're close to your breakthrough, resistance will rise. But that resistance is not greater than God's persistence. He will not let go of you. He will not abandon what he has begun. He will finish it even if it looks nothing like what you expected. God is not the author of confusion, but sometimes he allows confusion to reveal your convictions. Will you still believe when the answers don't come? Will you still pray when the doors don't open? Will you still stand when the world sits in doubt? That is where true faith is forged. In the unseen, in the unknown, in the uncomfortable. That is where you move from religion to revelation. And once you taste that revelation, once you know deep in your bones that God is real, active, and able, nothing can shake you. Not the news, not the critics, not the setbacks, because you know too much. You've seen too much. You've been carried through too much to ever doubt again. That kind of knowing can't be learned. It must be lived. And you, my friend, are living through it right now. The burden you carry right now may feel unbearable. The voices around you may tell you it's time to let go, to settle, to walk away. But hear this with every ounce of clarity in your soul: God did not bring you this far to abandon you in the wilderness. This is not the end of your journey. This is the proving ground of your faith. This is where you declare not with words alone, but with every breath in your body, I will wait on God. I will trust in God. I will not be shaken by what I see, because I am rooted in what I know. God is able. When everything around you seems to contradict the promise, that's when you must remember who gave the promise. God doesn't make empty declarations. He doesn't stir your heart in vain. If you feel a stirring within your soul, a whisper that tells you there's more, it's because God planted something in you that cannot be silenced by circumstance. You may be surrounded by impossibilities, but you are also overshadowed by divinity. When the pressure increases, it means something sacred is about to be born. Stay in position. Stay in prayer. Stay in the presence of the one who sees what no one else sees. The world may measure progress by speed and visibility, but God measures it by depth and transformation. You may feel like you're stuck, but what if this stillness is actually God's hand shielding you? What if the delay is not punishment, but protection? What if your current obscurity is the cocoon from which greatness will emerge? Do not despise these days of preparation. Do not rush out of the season God is using to mold you. What He is shaping in you now will be the very foundation you'll need when elevation comes. God does not waste pain. Every tear has been noted. Every silent prayer has echoed into the chambers of eternity. And when the time is right, when your spirit has been refined, when your heart has been strengthened, God will release what has been held back, not because you earned it, but because He promised it, and God keeps His promises. Not one word from His mouth returns empty. When He says He will do it, He will do it, even if every voice around you says it's impossible. There is power in believing when believing no longer makes sense. That kind of faith rattles the gates of resistance. It shakes the atmosphere. It becomes a magnet for the miraculous. When others see ruins, you see a foundation. When others walk away in fear, you stand firm in faith. This kind of faith confuses the world, but it moves the hand of God. Because it says, I don't rely on my feelings. I don't walk by sight. I am anchored in the character of God, and He is faithful. It's not about having all the answers. It's about trusting the one who holds them. Sometimes the greatest strength is found in quiet surrender, not to defeat, but to God's will. When you surrender your need for control, you open the door for God to work in ways far beyond your imagination. Let go of your timeline, release your expectations, and allow God to exceed them. He will, if you allow Him room. And don't be fooled, waiting is not weakness. Waiting is warfare. It is one of the most powerful decorations of trust a soul can offer. It says, even if it takes longer than I thought, even if others receive before me, I will not be moved. I will not envy. I will not fear. I will not doubt. I know God is working, and I will wait until He reveals what He's been preparing. That is strength. That is power. That is how the impossible is conquered, not with striving, but with surrendered persistence. Sometimes God hides His greatest work in plain sight. While you're watching the mountain, He's moving the valley. While you're watching the crowd, He's developing your character. The stage you're asking for may not be ready. Not because you're not capable, but because God is refining something even greater in you. The future He has designed for you is not small. It requires a version of you that is forged in discipline, anchored in humility, and clothed in unwavering faith. And yes, the enemy would love nothing more than to convince you that your weight is worthless, that your obedience is optional, that your faith is foolish. But do not give him that power. He is loud, but he is a liar. He is aggressive, but he is defeated. He thrives on distraction and discouragement, but he has no authority where God has spoken purpose. Resist the urge to give up. Reject the temptation to compare. Your story is being written by the author who has never made a mistake. Let every obstacle be a reminder that God is getting ready to show you what He can do. Let every delay become an altar where you lay down your fears and pick up your faith. Let every setback turn into a stepping stone. Because when God moves, He doesn't just restore what was lost, He multiplies. He doesn't just fix what was broken, He makes it new. He doesn't just open doors, He creates doors where there were none. And when you finally walk through, you'll look back not with bitterness, but with awe. You'll see how every detour was direction, how every heartbreak was healing in disguise, how every no was making space for the right yes. God does not waste the journey. Even the painful parts are used for your good. You were created for more than just surviving. You were formed by the very hands of the Almighty, and there is something divine encoded in your very breath. Do not settle. Do not shrink. Do not lower your standard to match the comfort of those who fear risk. God made you to rise, and rising often begins in silence, in obscurity, in surrender. The seed dies in the soil before it sprouts in the sun. So embrace the hidden place. Let it be the place where your roots grow deep, so that when your harvest comes, nothing will be able to shake you. God sees what others overlook. He honors what others dismiss. He elevates what the world discredits. The very thing they laughed at in your life, He will use it to lift you. The place they ridiculed you, He will make it the place of your recognition, and not for your pride, but for His glory, so that others may see your life and know it was never by your strength. It was never about your resources. It was God and God alone. And that's the point of the impossible, to bring you to the end of yourself so that the beginning of God can be revealed, to strip away every idol of self-reliance and awaken a desperate dependence on the only one who never fails. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. You are not being left behind. You are being led forward, one silent miracle at a time. So speak to your fear and tell it, you don't belong here. Speak to your doubt and tell it, you don't define me. Speak to your weariness and tell it, you won't stop me, because the God you serve is not intimidated by the size of your mountain. He created the mountain. He controls the wind. He commands the stars, and He knows you by name. The impossible is not your enemy. It is your invitation, your stage, your proving ground. And if you will simply trust, simply hold on, you will see what others only dream of. Not because you're lucky, not because you're special, but because you believed in the face of contradiction, because you held on when it made no sense, because you refused to quit. The night is almost over, the dawn is approaching, and when it breaks, you will not rise in your old identity, you will rise in your divine purpose. And all the world will see the impossible made possible by the one who never lies, never sleeps, never leaves, and never fails. When you feel forgotten by the world, overlooked by the crowd, and dismissed by those you once trusted, remember, God has not forgotten you. The approval of people is fleeting, but the favor of God is eternal. You do not need to be seen by everyone. You only need to be chosen by the one who sees everything, and God sees you. He sees your quiet faith. He sees the strength it takes to keep moving forward when everything in your life says to turn back. He sees your endurance in the dark and your integrity when no one is watching, and what God sees, He rewards. Not always immediately, but always perfectly. There is a divine rhythm to your life, one that does not follow the pace of this world. God is not in a hurry because He is not uncertain. He is not rushed because He is not restrained. He moves when it is right, not when it is convenient. And when He moves, it's not with noise or confusion. It's with clarity and precision. Your responsibility is not to figure everything out, but to stay aligned with His will. Trust that what He started in your life, He will complete. Not halfway, not almost, but fully. Let go of the urge to predict the path. You may not know how He will do it, but you can rest assured that He will. God doesn't need your blueprint. He works from His own. He doesn't need your understanding. He requires your obedience. And sometimes obedience looks like waiting when you want to run, staying when you want to flee, and believing when you want to doubt. That kind of obedience breaks barriers. It creates openings in realms you cannot see. It moves things in the heavens before anything moves on earth. And while you're waiting, something powerful is happening inside you. Your faith is maturing. Your discernment is sharpening. Your endurance is deepening. Every season of silence is producing strength. Every unanswered question is building trust. This is not the silence of abandonment. This is the silence of preparation. It is in the quiet place that God whispers destiny. It is in the hidden place that He deposits vision. What He is growing inside you cannot be rushed, because what He is preparing for you cannot be small. You are not here by accident. You were not born just to exist, to struggle, and to fade away. You were formed by God on purpose, for purpose, with purpose. There is a divine assignment on your life, and the trials you've endured are evidence of that calling. The weight of the warfare is confirmation of the weight of your anointing. The magnitude of the pressure is confirmation of the magnitude of your impact. God does not allow pain without purpose. He does not allow warfare without a weapon being formed in you. You are being armed in the Spirit to carry what others could not. You are being refined to walk where others gave up. Do not let the pace of others discourage your progress. Your path is not theirs. What takes them a moment may take you years, not because you're weak, but because what you carry requires depth, endurance, and divine discipline. God is building something in you that cannot be taken lightly. Some doors require more than talent to open. They require transformation. Some victories require more than energy. They require elevation. And God will not promote you to a place where your character cannot sustain you. So let Him continue His work. Let Him shape you in the dark. Let Him mold you in the mystery. You are in the hands of the Master Architect, and He does not make mistakes. Every broken piece, every shattered hope, every painful memory, He is using all of it to build something beautiful. What you thought was the end was only a turn in the journey. What you called failure, God is calling foundation. The storm you went through wasn't sent to destroy you. It was sent to cleanse you, to redirect you, to make you ready. And when God is ready to reveal what He has built in secret, no force in hell and no opinion of man will be able to stop it. When it is time, God will do in moments what you couldn't do in decades. Doors will swing open. Connections will align. Provision will flow. And you'll know it wasn't by chance, it was by God. Not because you manipulated or strategized, but because you trusted and surrendered. God honors the humble. He exalts the surrendered. He rewards the faithful. Do not underestimate what God is doing just because you don't see the full picture. He often hides His greatest works until the appointed time. The seed remains underground long before it sprouts. The roots grow down before the fruit grows up. What you see as stillness is really setup. What you feel as emptiness is preparation for overflow. If God is allowing space, it is because something massive is being formed in that space. And yes, there will be days when you are tempted to believe the lie that says, nothing will change. There will be moments when discouragement knocks louder than hope. But you must answer with faith. You must remind yourself that God's word is not fragile. His promises do not expire. His plan for your life does not waver in the face of adversity. It grows stronger. It deepens. It becomes more refined. God is not looking for perfection. He is looking for persistence. He is not asking you to be flawless. He is asking you to be faithful. Show up when it's hard. Believe when it's painful. Worship when it's silent. Trust when it's confusing. Those are the moments that shift destinies. Those are the moments that shake the spiritual realm. The impossible is not meant to break you. It is meant to elevate your view of God. It is meant to anchor you in the truth that you serve the one who specializes in making a way where there is no way. Your hope is not in your strength, your wisdom, or your resources. Your hope is in God alone, the one who formed the heavens, who rules without rival, who sustains the universe and still knows the number of hairs on your head. If He can orchestrate galaxies, He can handle your situation. If He can order the sunrise, He can guide your next step. If He can give breath to lifeless clay, He can restore your broken spirit. So rise, not in arrogance, but in assurance. Rise in the confidence that comes from knowing God is not finished. Rise with the kind of strength that confuses the enemy. Rise with a heart full of fire and a mind anchored in truth. Because no matter what you face, no matter how impossible it seems, the same God who opened the sea, who shook the earth, who sent provision through ravens and streams, is the same God who walks beside you today. Hold your head high. Not because life is easy, but because your God is mighty. Walk forward, not because the road is clear, but because your steps are ordered. Speak hope, not because you see the finish line, but because you trust the one who does. Let your life become a declaration of defiance against fear and doubt. Let your faith be louder than your circumstance. Let your trust in God echo through every valley and every mountain, because He will do what He said. He will fulfill what He promised. He will complete what He began. And when He does, it will be greater than you imagine, deeper than you prayed for, and more glorious than you ever dreamed. Just hold on. You must understand, when God chooses to move on your behalf, He doesn't consult your past, your mistakes, or your limitations. God is not bound by what disqualifies you in the eyes of others. He is not swayed by the opinions of those who don't see your value. What discredits you before men does not diminish you before God. When God declares a thing over your life, it stands. It is settled in the unseen long before it manifests in the seen. You may still feel the weight of delay, the sting of rejection, or the silence of unanswered questions, but none of these are signs of defeat. They are signs of preparation. They are signs that God is building something too powerful to be rushed. The fire that's surrounding you isn't meant to destroy. It's meant to refine. The winds that are pushing against you aren't signs that you're in the wrong place. They're evidence that you're in the middle of a shift. God never sends storms without purpose. Sometimes He uses the shaking to remove what you thought you needed. Sometimes He allows the crushing to release what He planted in you. And sometimes He allows everything around you to fall apart, not to punish you, but to prove that your foundation was never in things or people, but in Him alone. Don't be afraid of the process. Don't curse the season of isolation. God often hides those He intends to use greatly. Obscurity is not a curse. It's a covering. While others may chase platforms, God is building a palace of strength within your soul. While others may seek applause, God is anchoring your identity in something far more eternal. He is building substance over style, depth over display, and when it is time, what He has prepared in secret will be undeniable in the open. But you must endure the hidden place with faith, with integrity, and with unwavering trust in His timing. There are seasons when God will strip everything away, not because He is cruel, but because He is clearing the clutter so you can finally hear Him clearly. We fill our lives with distractions, noise, and dependencies, and then we wonder why we feel lost, confused, or anxious. Sometimes, God has to take away the temporary comforts so we can run back to the eternal source. And when we do, we rediscover a power that was never meant to be found in circumstances, but only in God Himself. What you're facing right now, this impossibility, this burden, this crossroad, it's not a punishment. It is an altar. It is a place where your dependence on God is being tested, not to break you, but to build you. It's easy to praise God when things are going right, but true strength is found when you lift your head and declare His greatness while you're still surrounded by the unknown. That kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of trust activates divine intervention. Don't underestimate what happens when you stay faithful in the unseen. Every morning you choose to rise in hope. Heaven records it. Every tear you cry in the quiet hours, God counts them. Every time you worship through pain, believe through disappointment, or give thanks in uncertainty, you are sowing seeds into a future only God can water. And in His appointed time, those seeds will break through the ground and bloom into blessings you never saw coming. You may not feel qualified. You may feel like you're too broken, too late, or too far gone. But God specializes in taking what the world throws away and raising it up as a testimony. The cracks in your life are not flaws. They are the very places His light will shine through. The pain you've endured is not your end. It is the beginning of a deeper calling. God does not use the strong as the world sees strength. He uses the surrendered. He uses the ones who, despite the wounds and the weariness, still whisper, "Here I am." If you knew what God was about to release into your life, you wouldn't doubt another day. If you could see the favor being prepared, the people being aligned, the opportunities being formed, the protection that's already in motion, you would be speechless in awe of His sovereignty. But this journey requires trust, not previews. It requires belief, not full understanding. You walk by trust, not by certainty. And with each step, even the smallest one, you are moving closer to the fulfillment of everything God has spoken over you. There will be times when your surroundings contradict your spirit. Your eyes will see delay, but your spirit will feel destiny. Your ears will hear doubt, but your heart will echo hope. And in those moments, you must choose what voice you follow. Will you be guided by fear, or will you stand on the truth that God cannot lie? Will you surrender to what you feel, or will you be anchored in what you know? That God is faithful, that He is near, that He is mighty to save. Stop looking at your life through the lens of limitation. Start seeing it through the eyes of God's promise. You were not made to be average. You were not created to simply exist. You carry purpose. You carry power. You carry a calling that cannot be muted by delay, failure, or opposition. And the very fact that you're still breathing means God is not finished with you. Your story is still being written. The ink has not dried. The final chapter is not yet read. Don't close the book just because this page is hard. Let the challenges sharpen your focus. Let the pain deepen your compassion. Let the struggle awaken your strength. Because what you conquer now will become the wisdom you give to others. What you survive now will become the map you hand to someone else in the storm. You are not just being blessed. You are being built to bless. You are not just being healed. You are being prepared to help heal. Every trial is a tool. Every fire is a forge. And every delay is a divine setup. So stand up, shake off the dust of doubt, silence the voices of fear, and rise with holy fire in your bones. Not because the road is smooth, but because the one who walks with you is greater than the road ahead. You do not walk alone. You are not at the mercy of chaos. You are held, guided, and strengthened by the hand of the Almighty. The same power that governs the stars is working within your life. Let your life speak of that power. Let your endurance become a witness. Let your faith shake the atmosphere, because there will come a day, and it is nearer than you think, when what you've been holding on for will break forth suddenly. And when it does, you will look back and realize every second of waiting was worth it. Every moment of silence was filled with sacred preparation. Every no was leading you to a greater yes. God will do the impossible. He will make a way. He will fulfill His word. Just hold on.